Hi folks, WoodenBoat Dan here. Just wanted to give you a heads up. The podcast you're about to listen to was recorded several years ago, so some of the phone numbers, email addresses, website links, and time-sensitive information are no longer valid. Please keep that in mind as you listen. If you'd like to contact me, my email address is woodenboatdan@gmail.com. Thank you and enjoy the podcast. Welcome to Hooked on Wooden Boats, podcast episode number 132. I'm your host, Dan Matson, aka WoodenBoat Dan. If you can't do it, nobody can. And this is the world's first podcast, fully 110% dedicated to celebrating the art, craft, history, tradition, and romance of wooden vessels of all sizes and shapes from all countries, cities, counties, states, regions, locales, locations, colors, species of wood, shapes, and sizes. Maybe I already said sizes. Welcome to the podcast today, folks. Great to have you on board, so to speak, the good ship Hooked on Wooden Boats. We've got another fun episode in store today. The featured segment is an interview I did with Jim Miller. Jim is president, general manager, and publisher at WoodenBoat magazine in Brooklin, Maine, and he's been there since 1985. I had a chance to hook up with him and talk about his personal journey with wooden boats and his tenure at WoodenBoat, and also talk about the upcoming WoodenBoat Show, 23rd annual, that is coming up June 27th through the 29th in Mystic, Connecticut, at the Mystic Seaport Village, where there's a museum and lots of fun stuff. So Jim talks a lot about that, and if you haven't been to that, you might want to check it out this year. Okay, this past couple weeks here, I've been busy as usual working on my Amazon business and some other things. And by the way, if you want to check out what I'm selling, which is a little bit of everything, go to amazon.com/shops, SHOPS, /Uncle Dan's Market. No apostrophe between the DAN and the S. And check it out. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, this week I did the recording with Jim Miller from Hooked on Wooden Boats. Last week I did another recording with a gentleman at WoodenBoat that I'm pretty excited about. I'm not going to tell you who it is until I publish it, but that'll be coming up in June sometime, and you're really going to like that one. Tomorrow I'm heading over to Port Townsend for the day, which I'm really excited about. I have not been there since November, which is a long time for me. Last year I was getting over there every month or two, and this year things have gotten crazy, but anyway, it takes a little time to get over there, about an hour and 15-minute drive to the ferry, 30-minute ferry ride, and I'm there. So I'm going to be spending most of the day tomorrow at the Northwest School of Wooden Boat Building in Port Hadlock with my friend Pete Leanhouse and some of the instructors there, and do some interviews and hang out with my friends Corey and Christina. And I'm really looking forward to that, doing some interviews in person, which I haven't done for several months now. Kind of gotten spoiled by the Skype interviews that I've been doing over the phone from my home office. It's so convenient and time-saving, but I love to get out and talk to people too, so I'm really looking forward to spending the day at the school tomorrow. And then next week, I'm going to be spending Tuesday down at the Center for Wooden Boats in Seattle, doing some interviews down there, talking to them about their upcoming festival, Lake Union Wooden Boat Festival. It's the 36th annual, I believe. 36th? Yes. Is that right? I don't know. I think so. And anyway, so I'm excited about that. I'm going to do 2 or 3 interviews there and give you a little preview of the upcoming festival, which is the Friday, Saturday, Sunday of the July 4th weekend. So that'll be a lot of fun. So I'm finally getting going to be getting out here and doing some wooden boat stuff. I just feel like my head's been in other things lately, so I haven't been as focused on wooden boats, but I'm getting back into it, so I'm pretty excited about that. I'd like to give out a shout out to new subscribers to my newsletter, and Joffrey Bacher, Darren Miller, Simon Bunker, Jeff Ingram, Bo Sweeney, and Mike Powell. Thanks for joining my list. If you haven't already done so, you can go to hookedonwoodenboats.com/subscribe and subscribe to my free e-newsletter. And you get some free resources, tips and tricks and fun things. I tell you what I'm up to at Hooked on Wooden Boat, so I would encourage you to do that. And I, once again, have not sent out a newsletter since March, but I think what I'm going to do is I've kind of sent these bigger newsletters out with a lot of information and stuff, and I think what I'm going to do is just make them a little more short and sweet and personal, and that'll help me get over the hump of spending a lot of time to produce one, and then it's harder to get them produced. So anyway, that's the direction I'm going to head. And I may have said this last podcast 2 weeks ago, but I am going to get one out this week. It is Wednesday, May 28th right now. I can't believe it's May 28th already. Okay, let's see. That's about it for the intro here. We're going to move on to the interview with Jim Miller of WoodenBoat in Brooklin, Maine. So take it away, Jim. It is May 27th, 2014. I am on the phone with Jim Miller, President and General Manager and Publisher of WoodenBoat in Brooklin, Maine. Welcome to the podcast, Jim.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing this on fairly short notice. What's happening there in Brooklyn today? Anything exciting?
Today we have about 20 alumni in here helping haul boats out of storage, sand them, and get some paint and varnish on them. We do that every year for 2 weeks, and we have about 20 people show up each week, and they do all types of things for us, but principally get the boats out, get them ready, and get them in the water because we start class next week.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
And the other thing going on is the boat show, which is approaching faster than we all can imagine. So this week we're doing our final mailings to exhibitors, and it's looking like another big year.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, Jim, let's start with a little personal history about you, and after we talk about that for a little bit, and we'll talk about the boat show. So tell me about your youth, where you grew up, and what you were doing like from up through high school type of thing.
I grew up in the middle of Rhode Island, a little town by the name of West Warwick, and I was growing up, I was basically a guy who played a lot of different sports and just tried to survive a public education. And I grew up in a small town, and I was with the same kids for 12 plus years, and had a perfect childhood. So didn't get to boat as much as I wanted, living so close to Narragansett Bay, but I had a couple of friends with boats, and we did some sailing, but we did more fishing than anything. So in my early years, a boat was just a means to do something or go somewhere. It wasn't for the pleasure of it. Mm-hmm. There was always a reason to use a boat.
What kind of fish were you catching in those days?
In those days, it was flounder, tautog, and there was so many flounder that people would leave them on your doorsteps and run.
Seriously.
And the same with, we did a lot of clamming also.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of quahogs in Narragansett Bay, and we'd go out and, dig a bushel of clams and have our mothers make us chowder.
So flounder's a flat fish. It lays on the bottom, is that right?
Yeah, two eyes looking up.
Yeah.
I think looking down on one, it looks like sand. It's white on one side and a sand gravel color on the other.
So you fillet those up and you get a nice white fillet to eat, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Very
I think
cool.
things have changed dramatically. With the flounder situation, there's still a lot of clams and a lot of bluefish and stripers that run up through Narragansett Bay. So, it's a great place to live.
Yeah. Do you have brothers and sisters too, Jim?
I have a brother who's a professor at the University of North Carolina. He's an education
Very good.
professor, early childhood.
So after high school, what did you do, and when did you first start getting interested in wooden boats?
Thanks to the Vietnam War, I made a point of going off to college for about 5 years. And as did a lot of people. And yes, I went to business school. My father was associated with Johnson and Wales, and so I did 2 years at Johnson and Wales, and then transferred up to Hudson University in Bangor, Maine, which got me this far. And I was in the construction business for quite a while, and pulp and paper. And at one point, I found myself about 40 minutes from Brooklin, Maine, and decided I wanted to try something different. Saw an ad for WoodenBoat, and had no idea what it was. I had a fiberglass center console at the time. Came over here to Brooklyn and interviewed for the job, and lo and behold, I got it. And I remember the reaction on some people's faces the first time I showed up at the dock with my 18-foot Seaway. It was time to get something else for a boat. Yeah. So I've been around wooden boats now for about 30 years.
So what year did you start at WoodenBoat, and what was the position you took at that time?
I started out as the business manager, which is no longer a position here, but I was basically in charge of the accounting side of things.
Okay.
And I was doing that for about 5 years when the HR lady, who was called the personnel lady at that time, decided to leave, and I ended up picking up the HR side of the business.
What year did you first start there at WoodenBoat, Jim?
About 30 years ago. So
Seriously?
about 1985.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, long time.
Yeah. So
I attribute where I got by just hanging in here. It's attrition, I think, is how some people would look at this. At some point, our general manager decided he didn't want to work here anymore, and seeing as how I was taking care of the business and the HR, it just became a natural to just become the general manager, which led to a couple of other things, and now, publisher on top of it. So
do you have an accounting degree or business management or accounting?
Financial, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, with a minor in what we used to call data processing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got an accounting degree too, Jim. Maybe I don't know if that's good or bad, but
I think it does help you understand the challenges and how things work to know the accounting side of things.
Right. So
I went from
Go ahead.
building and repairing paper mills to working for a paper mill, and then eventually to coming to WoodenBoat where we were buying the paper. So it's kind of a full circle here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you first got there, you had your fiberglass center console boat, and then did you immediately develop an affinity for wooden boats and start building them and buying them, or how did that process?
Yeah,
what did that look like?
You can't help but get hooked if you work here, and I really do love boats, and it was pretty simple to transition from the fiberglass center console to a wooden boat, and there's always a conversation here about boats, and I was fortunate to spend probably 15 to 20 years with Mike O'Brien, who was always urging me to buy another boat. He was, and he's the reason I have the boat I currently have, which he followed for, I bet, 10 years before I finally had an opportunity to buy it.
What boat is that, Jim?
This is a boat called Blackbird, which is a 24-foot power boat that was designed by it's Phil Bolger, and the builder Ken Onion River Boatworks. Can't think of Ken's last name right now, but between the two of them, they came up with this design. It was featured at the 1984 Wooden Boat Show in Newport. And Ken thought he had a real winner. I mean, everyone loved this boat, and he thought, there you go, I'm going to just keep building them, boat after boat. But it never happened, so I own the only one. And that's my favorite boat.
Well, what kind of design is it exactly? Other than being a power boat, does it have a cabin?
It's a semi-displacement. It's powered with an outboard and a well.
Oh,
and it
wow.
was designed for canal cruising. So it has a very low profile on the cabin to enable it to duck under most, overhang bridges, and it can run up to about 18 knots. And it's got a small cuddy.
What size motor do you have in it?
I have a 50-horse Honda.
4-stroke?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The boat has been everywhere. The boat has run from, it was built in northern Vermont. It's been down into the Keys. It's been up the Mississippi River. It's been all over the place. I haven't done all of that, but it's got a lot of miles on her. And she's a head turner. Everyone wants to know something about her.
So is she a composite epoxy boat, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Hard chine, or?
She's round.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. She's on the cover of Boat Design Quarterly number 26.
Mm-hmm.
She's on the cover, and she was first shown to the public in, I think, Small Boat Journal, if you remember that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. What other boats do you have, Jim?
I have a shellback equipped for sailing. I have a sassafras stitching glue from Chesapeake Lightcraft.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Did you build that one?
Pardon?
Did you build that one?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You got the 12-foot or 14 or 16?
I have the small one, the 12-footer.
Yeah. That's what I've got.
I've got a couple of the kayaks that you don't see them around anymore. We called it torturing plywood. I can't think of the name of them, but I still have a couple of those. One of which I built, and one I just bought.
It was a kit boat?
No, we built those. I built it at the school.
Oh.
It was an interesting construction technique where 3 or 4 guys would grab onto a piece of plywood, and everyone would push and pull. And it was the first time I ever heard plywood actually make noises. But that was the building technique, was to force it into a certain shape and then quickly screw it down and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you get out on your boats on a regular basis, Jim?
Yes. Yeah, quite a bit.
Cool.
But the season it's the Maine season, so it's mid-June, middle of September.
August, so 4.5 months. You pull all your boats out of the water in the winter then, Jim?
You have to, yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So what do you do for fun?
Other than boating?
Is that your fun, boating?
I have a summer house. We have a summer house, my wife and I.
Okay.
And it's on an island. So we use our boat to come and go from this island. I ski. I work out. I run quite a bit.
Snow ski?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And
Snowshoe.
Oh, wow. So is the
I read
island...
a bunch of magazines.
Yeah. Is the island that your place on, is that near Brooklyn, so you can commute to work from there? Or?
I can do that, though I choose not to. I did it when I was younger. It was a tough commute with the weather. We have a lot of fog. We have some sloppy conditions. And, you know, it's not that. It's that kind of thing where
you got to do some crossings and stuff, open crossings.
Yeah, you don't want to risk.
Yeah, you want to have to get to work, fog and chop, and all that stuff.
Yeah. So I used to leave the island and run a boat into Belfast, Maine. And I was picked up by someone I worked with, and we rode over to Brooklyn. It was an hour drive. And then we'd come back, and he'd drop me off at the docks. I'd row out to my boat, and I'd motor about 20 minutes over to the island. So I would do that coming and going, you know, dinghy on both ends. And
yeah. Wow.
Yeah. It was a long day.
Yeah, sounds like it, Jim. Yeah. So for you, looking back on the last 30 years at WoodenBoat, I'm just curious, what are some of the best rewards, greatest rewards for you of working there?
I think the biggest reward, the people I have come to know and love, either working here or customers, there's so many great people that are into boating, and to have the ability not only to meet them here, but to travel to other boat shows. And, you know, it's 30 years of meeting people and talking boats. So that's not a bad way to spend 30 years.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
And you come out to Port Townsend. You've been out here quite a bit, right?
Yes.
For the festival there in September.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. So, it's a wonderful business to be in. I always feel fortunate that I'd rather be in this business than something that just doesn't have that same kind of reward to it. We can all pick those businesses, but anyway, so I feel fortunate and blessed.
Cool. So WoodenBoat's having their 40th anniversary this year, Jim. What do you guys got planned for that?
We are going low-key. We are not going to celebrate any particular individual. We're going to have an open house here that lasts 3 days, and the thought is to involve not only the staff here in welcoming people, but also the whole community. Brooklyn has been quite the home for us, and a number of the individuals and businesses in town are going to help out with welcoming people and helping to entertain them. So I think it'll be 3 fun days, but we're not going to have activities every hour on the hour. We're going to leave it to people to come in here and enjoy the property and you know, all of the surroundings. So.
Yeah. Do you happen to know the dates that is, Jim?
Yeah, Dan.
Good. You should, man.
Sure I do. Let's cut this one out.
It's in August, right?
Um,
I'll give you a second to look it up there.
Yes. The open house will begin on August 14th and end on August 16th.
Okay.
So it's a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Yeah. Oh,
and
okay.
we have started to post events online at our website, you know, WoodenBoat.com.
Yeah.
And we hope people show up. We hope they bring a boat. Either they want to display a boat on land, or they want to throw her in the water, or they want to sail in. I think, you know, there's something for everyone. And the more people we see, the better. And I hope they all have a boat or a story about a boat.
So no registration or advanced anything. You just show up and hang out and have some fun, huh?
Well, the only thing we'd ask to know in advance is whether or not you want to have dinner with us. We've got a couple of fundraiser dinners. One is being hosted by the fire department, and there's some ticketing information online about that. The other one is it's hosted by the local Baptist church, and they have a fund for people in need who live in Brooklyn. So all of the proceeds from both of those dinners will go to worthy causes. And one is a barbecue, and one is an old-fashioned lobster dinner.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
That sounds fun. So do you know of any
birthday party?
What's that?
Saturday, and we're going to conclude Saturday early evening with a birthday party here on the property. And there will be we're going to have a cake, and actually the lobster dinner will we'll start with a lobster dinner and conclude with the birthday party.
Cool. How many employees do you have at WoodenBoat these days?
We have about 60 during the summer.
Okay.
We have about 15 people that are associated with the school. And they range from cooks to marina operators to the shop foreman. And we even have a guy that picks up people at the airport. So there are about 15 people work on some basis for the school.
I see.
And the rest of us are pretty much split between the two magazines and the store.
That's right, because your Professional Boat Builder is the other magazine you publish. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So their staff is somewhat separate, the editorial side of it, and art and graphics, and some people are shared by both magazines. So like the circulation side of it is, we have one department that does both magazines.
I see. How do the circulation numbers compare on those two magazines, Jim?
A Professional Boat Builder is a controlled circulation, which means that people don't pay for it. It's if they're in the business and they qualify, we give them a free copy. So all of the revenue that we take in from Professional Boat Builder is from advertising, and those are the advertisers are paying to get their ads in front of these 25,000 readers that we have. And WoodenBoat has a circulation of about 75,000 right now, and that is about 2/3 subscriber based and about 1/3 newsstand based.
I see. Wow.
And we sell that.
Yeah. Okay.
For $32 a year.
Yeah. Okay. And people, if they go to woodenboat.com, they can subscribe to that, right?
Certainly can.
Yeah. And you've got a print.
A lot handier to do that than to go off looking for a copy on the newsstand.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've got a print and digital version.
Yes.
All right. You can buy one or the other or both, I think. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So, Jim, let's talk about, you've got the 23rd Annual WoodenBoat Show coming up at Mystic, Connecticut, June 27th to the 29th. So let's talk about that for a little bit. Tell me some of the highlights maybe of the show and what to expect for those that haven't been there before.
All right. Well, this is a big year for the Herreshoff designs, and we're going to have a special treatment of the fact that three of Captain Nat's designs turn 100 this year, and so a number of the owners of these three designs that are turning 100 are going to be, their boats will be in the water, as will some newer versions of the same design. So we'll have a special cocktail hour and conference. We're going to have a panel talk about the designs on Saturday night, and we'll lead off that panel discussion with Maynard Bray and Ben Menlowitz doing a PowerPoint presentation on the photos of those designs, and a discussion will follow on what makes these designs so special and how can they remain competitive after 100 years.
What designs are those, Jim?
So the 12.5 is the first one, and that's the most popular one.
Yeah.
I think there were more of those built.
And that's the waterline length on that boat. It's actually a 15-foot boat, is that right?
I think it's even a little more than
16,
that.
something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. What are the other ones in?
I am trying. I want to see if I have overall lengths.
Okay.
Let me. So the 12.5, the length overall is about 16 feet.
Yeah.
The Newport 29 has an overall length of about 36.5 feet. And lastly, the Buzzards Bay 25 at 32.7 feet.
Okay. And those
my
are all
understanding is, they're all competitive to this day, and it's been 100 years, so it's just amazing.
Are these all sloop rigs, or people rig them different ways, Jim?
I think there are different rigs on these boats.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So the like the Newport 29 is waterline, length of waterline, LWL?
Overall.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. So you're going to celebrate those 100 years on those boats, huh?
Yeah. So we got a couple of builders coming in who specialize in that type of thing, and they're bringing some of them. And we have some of their customers coming in. So we're going to try to keep those all in one particular place. And the other thing is we're sold out for the first time in a long time. We've got like 3 to 4 weeks to go, and we're pretty well sold out. We've got a lot of boats coming in, a lot of power, and
so when you
completely, we have no more space available for exhibitors.
For exhibitors and boats, you're full.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We anticipate, usually we see about 13,000 people come through over the 3 days. And that's been pretty consistent. So I think it's going to be a big weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everyone comes for the boats and probably secondly for the exhibitors and all of that, and the demonstration program that we put on. So it's a big weekend.
Yeah. So Jim, what are some of the other special boats that are going to be there? The Charles Morgan will be there, right?
Charles Morgan has left.
Oh, it has. Okay.
Charles Morgan, I believe, is in New London right now, and they're doing the final rigging and putting ballast in the boat. She left about a week ago.
Okay.
And she will be heading towards, as far as Provincetown, over the next couple of months. She's got a big stop in New Bedford. And so she will not be there, nor will Roanne. I think Roanne will accompany her on this trip. And Roanne is a fishing boat from Point Judith, Rhode Island, that was rebuilt at the shipyard. And so that leaves, a large hole on land. I mean, the Morgan's been on land for, it seems like 5 years now. But so it's good that we've got so many boats coming in. I don't think it's going to be missed as much as we feared.
Okay. What are some of the activities that people can participate in, Jim, if they come out to the show?
One thing that I think is pretty neat is anybody who wants to can take a boat out here. No questions asked other than, do you know what you're doing? There's no money involved. The livery is open to the public, and all of the boats are available at no cost. So if you're thinking of trading up, or you have an interest in a boat and you've never been in it, if you go over to the livery, chances are they've got one and you can take it out and try it. We also are holding the demonstration seminar program over the course of 3 days, which that's a real popular activity, and 3 to 4 times a day there's a formal presentation by a boat builder. And this year we're featuring someone from the Port Townsend area, and yeah, and you probably want to know who that is.
Yeah, and, who is it? It's not me, I know that.
Oh, he does the Norwegian boats. I'm drawing a blank on
Jay Smith.
Jay Smith. Thank you. Jay Smith is coming out here not only to teach at the WoodenBoat School, but also to do a lion's share of the demonstrations.
Cool.
During the show, and he's going to be bringing some of his tools with him, and I'm sure that will be well attended.
Yeah, Jay's an amazing guy. I've been to his shop a few times, and he's wow, it's very authentic what he does.
Yeah. I think, the one thing that I always forget to mention to people is that this show is being held at the Mystic Seaport. And for the price of one ticket, you get a boat show and you get America's premier museum dedicated to boating. It's just, it's a great way to spend the day. I almost don't think you can do it in a day.
Yeah.
But all of the tickets we sell are good for 2 days. But it's just a wonderful place to hold a show, and there's so many things to do. I mean, the museum staff is there. You can go in there and treat your visit as a museum visit. We're also there, so it's a 2-for-1 situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've never been to Mystic Seaport Museum. What's that like, Jim? What do they have there?
It is a walled city from the 1800s. It's I think from one end to the other, I think it's about a mile long along a river, and it's a recreation. A lot of the buildings are original buildings, but they were moved to this location, and it's a secure site on a river, and but it's not a replica so much. It's the real thing. Only the buildings have been moved from different towns in Connecticut and Rhode Island, I suspect. And people dress in period costume. There are no vehicles on site. Everything is horse-drawn carriages, and it's kind of a cool place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
And there's active demonstrations going on all of the time. Either barrel making, rope making, hoisting sails, whatever would have happened back in the 1800s.
So if you buy a ticket, you get the Wooden Boat Show and the museum, both, huh?
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How many boats do they have in the museum? Is there like dozens and dozens, or?
Hundreds.
Hundreds.
They I think have the largest small boat collection in the world, and it's indoors. And there will be tours of that collection. They also have one of the largest collections of photography. The Rosenfeld collection is there, and a lot of the designer files are there, all of which will be accessible during the show.
And they've got a big collection of Herreshoff boats too, right?
No.
Oh, they don't? Okay.
No, I don't think so. I mean, They've got a few.
Okay.
Right. But, Herreshoff's they've got their own museum up in Bristol.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything else special people should know about the show, Jim?
I think we've covered it.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Well, I really appreciate you being on the podcast today and telling us more about yourself and Wooden Boat and the Wooden Boat Show. And again, that's June 27th to 29th in Mystic Seaport, which is in Mystic, Connecticut. I got to get that part right. Anything else you'd like to add today, Jim?
There'll be over 100 boats on land and in the water. It's a must-see.
Okay.
Hope to see you there.
Okay. All right, Jim. Well, again, appreciate you being on the podcast today. We'll chat for a second here after we stop the recording, so have a great day.
All right. Thank you, Dan.
Okay. You're welcome. Thanks, Jim, for taking the time to do that interview. That was a lot of fun. I'm a little jealous of your boat, the Blackbird, which, by the way, I'm putting pictures of the Blackbird, the 24-foot Bolger powerboat, on the website that'll show up with the podcast, so check that out. It's a beautiful boat. Anyway, thanks a lot, Jim, for doing the podcast. I appreciate it. Okay, if you'd like to connect with me, you can do so by email, dan@hookedonwoodenboats.com. You can leave comments on my blog, hookedonwoodenboats.com. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and YouTube if you look for Wooden Boat Dan there. And if you'd like to leave me a voicemail and something, if you have a question or you'd like to leave comments about the podcast, you can do that by going to hookedonwoodenboats.com/voicemail, and you can leave up to a 90-second message there from your computer or your smartphone. And you can also subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. And if you enjoy the podcast, I'd appreciate it if you leave me a review there. An honest review. That would be awesome. Also, if you'd like to help support the podcast, you can go to my homepage, make a contribution there. I call it a tip. There's a little graphic on how to do that there. You can also, if you purchase things from Amazon, if you do it through my link, I get paid a small commission, hookedonwoodenboats.com/Amazon. If you go, that'll take you to Amazon. If you make a purchase within 24 hours, I get paid a commission. I think it's 4%, so that's cool. And if you want to order t-shirts, hats, or mugs with a Hooked on Wooden Boat logo, you can go to hookedonwoodenboats.com/store. And I think that's about it for this week, folks. Stay tuned for the next podcast. We've got some really exciting episodes coming up. Keep the bright side up and the barnacled side down. Wooden Boat Dan over and out. God bless. Have a great week.